There's a group of people who grew up rewinding cassette tapes with a pencil, and also stood in line to see the first iPhone. Psychologists don't quite know where to place them. Marketers lump them in with millennials. Demographers stretch Gen X to include them. But if you were born roughly between 1976 and 1985, you probably feel it. You don't fully belong in either world. Researchers started calling this group Xennials around 2014. Some sociologists even describe it as a microgeneration. The birth window is small, but what happened during that slice of history was massive. Because you didn't just grow up, you transitioned. Analog childhood, your early years were fully analog. If you were bored, you stayed bored. If you wanted to call a friend, you memorized their number. If you missed your favorite show, you missed it. That was it. Plans required commitment. If you said you'd meet someone at the mall at 6 p.m., you showed up. There was no running late text, no location sharing, no backup plan through a group chat. That kind of world builds something specific: patience, trust, follow through. Conversations disappeared when they ended. Embarrassing moments faded into memory instead of living forever online. Your worst haircut, your awkward middle school phase, that terrible outfit in 9th grade, none of it is searchable. Your past exists mostly in stories. That matters more than people realize. Research on autobiographical memory shows that our brains are designed to reshape and edit personal experiences over time. Memory is flexible. It softens certain details and strengthens others. It helps us move forward. When everything is documented and archived, that natural process changes. But you grew up before that shift. Your identity had room to evolve without permanent digital evidence. A digital adulthood. Then, just as you were figuring out who you were, everything flipped. The internet didn't slowly seep into your childhood. It exploded into your young adulthood. You signed up for early social networks. First Friendster, then MySpace, then Facebook. Cell phones went from rare to essential in a few short years. Messaging multiplied. Email became standard. Then came instant messaging. Then texting. Then apps. You adapted. And here's where psychology gets interesting. Neuroscience shows that the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for complex decision-making and adapting to change, continues developing into the mid-20s. A study published in Nature Neuroscience confirmed that brain maturation extends well beyond adolescence. That means when the technological landscape completely transformed, your brain was still highly adaptable. You were young enough to absorb new tools naturally, but old enough to remember life before them. That created something rare. You're digitally fluent, but you're not digitally dependent. You can sit through a dinner without checking your phone every minute. You can also learn new software without feeling overwhelmed. You understand privacy differently because you lived before oversharing was normalized. You remember what it felt like to be unreachable. That experience alone sets you apart from younger generations. The 2008 collision. But technology wasn't the only shift. Right as many of you were entering the workforce, the 2008 financial crisis hit. You were told to go to college, build a career, follow the plan. Then the economy cracked. Jobs vanished. Companies froze hiring. Career paths stalled before they began. Research on economic hardship shows that financial instability during early adulthood can leave long-term psychological imprints. When instability hits during the years you're forming your professional identity, it changes how you see risk, security, and opportunity. Even if your situation eventually stabilized, something stayed with you, a quiet awareness. Things can fall apart. That awareness shapes decisions. It affects how you save, how you spend, how much risk you tolerate. It may even explain why many in this group are cautious but capable, ambitious yet guarded. You learn to adapt, not because it was trendy, but because it was necessary. The contradiction advantage. This microgeneration carries contradictions that don't feel like contradictions. You grew up with independence. Many of you were latchkey kids. Your parents didn't track your every move. You solved problems alone. You figured things out, but you also matured during the early optimism of the internet. You saw technology presented as connection, possibility, progress, so you became both skeptical and hopeful. Independent, yet collaborative, grounded, yet flexible, analog in instinct, digital in execution. Older generations sometimes view technology with suspicion. Younger ones often see it as oxygen. You stand somewhere in between. You remember what we gained: instant access to information, global communication, opportunities your childhood self couldn't imagine. But you also remember what we lost: silence without distraction, waiting without anxiety, being alone with your thoughts without effort. You can see both sides because you lived both sides. The identity gap. If you're in this group, You've probably felt slightly misplaced, too young to fully relate to core Gen X experiences, too old to feel aligned with millennials who grew up entirely online. The generational conversation often simplifies people into broad labels. But rapid change compresses history. A 5-year difference in birth year can create completely different realities when technology and economics shift fast. You aren't confused, you're transitional, and that might be your biggest strength. You've already navigated one massive societal pivot. You've seen systems change, norms shift, and industries transform. You understand that the environment you're raised in may not be the one you retire in. That perspective builds resilience. Why it matters now: we're living through another era of rapid change. Artificial intelligence, automation, shifting job markets, cultural realignment. For many people, this feels unprecedented. For you, it feels familiar. You've done this before. You've learned new rules mid-game. You've adapted to new platforms. You've rebuilt plans when external forces rewrote them. And you did it while still forming your adult identity. That's not a weakness. That's training. The real psychological takeaway isn't that this group is superior or special, it's that you represent proof that identity can survive disruption. You adapted without completely losing who you were. In a world obsessed with extremes, you learned how to hold complexity without panic. If you were born between the late 70s and mid-80s and this feels familiar, you're not imagining it. You lived through a narrow window of history that shaped you in ways most people don't talk about. You are not misplaced. You are transitional. And in times like these, that might be exactly what the world needs. If this resonated, subscribe for more deep dives into the psychology behind generations and the forces that shape us. And in the comments, tell me this: what's one thing from the analog world you're glad you experienced before everything went digital? I'll see you in the next one.